In the cold silence of an alien medical bay, a young cadet lies on the edge of life, her body shattered, her breaths faint, while beyond the sealed doors, her forbidden dragon companion claws to get inside, sensing a danger no machine can detect, a danger hiding in the very hands sworn to save her. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video and tell us where are you watching from. Now, let's jump into the story. The medical wing of Aurora Ring Station murmured with a soft rhythm, like a lullaby of light and air. Pressure seals sighed. Gravity coils sang a low tone. Scanners blinked with patient patience. On bed 12, Cadet Rhea Lockwood rested under a pale field of restorative gel. Faint bands of amber warmth traced over her arms and shoulders, where the blast had kissed skin and left pain. Rhea had chased a rumor, a tricky one. Cargo prints that did not match logs. Crates that never showed on honest lists. Someone was moving synthetic medicine that behaved like real treatment until it quietly failed. She tracked the path through docking stacks and freight lifts, and she got too close. The blast at Bay 13 was not a glitch. It was a warning. Miri Phelan moved with 4 gentle hands and 1 solid heart. The nurse checked Rhea's neural map, watched the breathing lines, adjusted the comfort field. Miri had seen many kinds of worry. She knew how families asked for blessings and how crews asked for news. This was different. There were no family banners in Rhea's file. There was only a note that read, "Bonded partner, Obsidian of Kepler Brood 4, access limited." Rhea stirred. Her lips were dry, though the hydration mist kept the air sweet. Her eyes opened halfway, ocean blue and cloudy with ache. She whispered, barely there, "Where is Obsidian? Please, I need him." Miri paused. Regulations were clear. No companions in critical care. Not birds, not cats, not gliders, not dragons. Not even bonded guardians. The rule protected the quiet order of the ward. Still, Miri had learned another rule in her decades on duty. Sometimes a life needs a thread of comfort to hold fast. "Cadet Rhea," Miri said in a small musical voice, "you know our limits here." Rhea tried to lift a hand and could not. Her fingers trembled like thin branches in a cold wind. "My grandmother used to say, 'The end feels like winter arriving early,'" Rhea breathed. "I do not want winter yet. I just want to see him." The words landed in Miri's chest and stayed there. She looked at the monitors, then at the young woman whose courage had led her into harm's path. Miri made a decision. She would try. It took hours. Calls, codes, polite rejections, then firm requests. Miri spoke to Captain Jules Mercer, the security lead, who listened with a face that gave nothing away. He knew Rhea's trail. He had copies of her notes. He also knew dragons from the Kepler colonies were not pets. They were partners with senses that touched edges no device could reach. After much back and forth, a narrow window opened. 15 minutes, under escort, off hours, in a quiet corridor. If anything went wrong, it would end at once. The medical director sent a message that felt like a sigh. One exception, and one only. Near the false night of the station's cycle, 2 officers guided Obsidian through service halls washed in blue lamps. The dragon moved with careful grace. He was not huge by dragon standards, but to human eyes he was large. A sweep of midnight colors that caught the wall lights and turned them into stars. His wings rested tight at his sides. His tail kept balance. His eyes were molten gold. When the doors to bed 12 opened, A draft of colder air whispered along the floor. Obsidian's pupils narrowed. The scales along his back shivered and took on a dusting of frost. The temperature dipped a breath. Miri had read about this instinct in old notes. It meant alert. It meant something in the room did not align with safety. The ward was calm, white and silver and soft beeps. Tubes curved from ceiling arms. Screens glowed. Rhea's bed held the fragile shape of someone still here, but far away. Obsidian padded forward and lowered his head to her hand. A quiet vibration rolled in his chest, warm and steady. Rhea's eyes opened. A slow smile arrived like morning light. "You found me," she whispered. Her fingers brushed his scales. "If I do not make it, you must find another human who laughs at terrible jokes." The dragon answered in a sound that was half rumble, half soft song. He did not break the hush. He honored the machines and the people. But his gaze moved, steady and searching. His nostrils tasted the air. His senses reached for patterns, for small shifts, for signs that did not belong. Miri watched the pair and felt the ward breathe easier. Yet beneath the calm, a thin wire of worry hummed. Rhea's work had crossed the path of people who hid in plain sight. And if danger had reached the bay, it might try the ward. Miri had seen the frost pass over Obsidian's scales at the door. She did not forget it. The 15 minutes stretched long and kind. When the escort signaled time, Obsidian hesitated. He lifted his head, looked toward a cabinet where sealed supplies rested. A slow pulse of color moved along his side, like a warning light in living form. Miri's antennae, soft, translucent, twitched with a thought she could not prove. The dragon had scented worry in a place no scanner had flagged. Obsidian left with quiet steps, but the room did not feel the same after he was gone. Rhea slept again, her breathing even for now. Miri stood between the bed and the cabinet and told herself to listen with more than ears. Somewhere, a secret watched and waited, and the story, still only at its beginning, asked everyone present to keep their courage ready. Morning in space is only a word, yet the station felt new when the lights brightened. The ward kept its hum. Miri's hands moved in set patterns, but her thoughts reached back. Her training asked for evidence. Still, she placed a note in the file. Observe interactions between dragon and attending staff. Dr. Calix Vorn entered with gliding steps. He was well known and much praised, a healer who could work across many alien bodies with skill. His voice was calm and smooth. He read the charts, checked the lines, and made mild remarks that sounded like care. Everything about him looked right. Obsidian's visit had been documented as a single exception, but Captain Mercer had signed an addendum. The companion may remain nearby in view-only status for the patient's emotional stability. So the dragon watched from a clear-paneled alcove, a lawful distance away. Yet the air seemed to tighten when Vorn drew near Rhea's bed. The fine frost returned to Obsidian's scales, not in a showy wave, but like quiet snow along a ridge. His pupils thinned to lines, his tail stilled. Miri stepped between Vorn and the cabinet without thinking. "I can hand you any supplies you need," she said in a soft tone. Vorn smiled in a way that did not touch his eyes and thanked her. He asked for standard anesthetic boosters, listed by number. Miri brought sealed packs from a different shelf than the one Obsidian had watched the night before. The check continued. Sensors blinked with neutral light. Yet Obsidian's chest note deepened by a shade. As if an old bell far away had begun to ring. Miri asked to pause the round to run a quick calibration. Vorn did not argue. He left the room to answer a call, or so he said. Miri used the moment to message Captain Mercer. She chose simple words. The Dragon's stress cues are strong around Vorn. Request discreet review. Mercer replied at once. Noted. Working angles. The angles were thin lines in a maze of numbers. Mercer's team looked at docking fees, license renewals, and purchase orders for medical supplies. Most of it was. Some of it was strange. A few entries jumped like sparks. One shell company paid consulting fees that did not match any known service. The payer had links to an old name whispered in trade warnings, Tavian Krell. Krell had a public face as a clean seller of medicine. People nodded to his stores on many stations. His private line of work, if the rumors were right, fed desperate worlds with treatment that failed later, quiet and far away. Mercy, sold at a discount. Mercy that did not last. Messages on secured routes began to surface. The team broke through the common locks first, then the harder ones. An encrypted packet to Vorn sat like a stone at the bottom of a dark pool. When the digital waters cleared, words appeared that made Mercer straighten in his chair. The message did not say harm. It used softer phrasing. It asked for a timely adjustment that would look natural. Payment would be triple. Ria's charts showed a surgery time later that cycle. It could not wait. Her lungs needed relief. Her skin needed deeper repair. Her nerves required careful support. The team had hours to make sense of the clues. Evidence had to be clean. Any move had to be sure. Miri stayed with Ria. She kept the breath lines steady and the gel smooth. She told small stories in a quiet voice about a garden she once kept in a ship's hydro bay. Ria seemed to rest better when Miri spoke of green things. The dragon watched and did not blink for long stretches. His gaze was patient. He was a mountain that could move if needed. Vorn returned to the ward with a small tray and washed hands. He spoke in soft terms about procedures and timelines. Everything was by the book. The book, however, did not account for what a bonded dragon could sense in a room. Captain Mercer sent 2 officers to set small cameras that looked like screws in ceiling corners. A separate team traced recent deliveries that had entered the ward's storage. One crate was listed as sterile tubing. Its weight did not match. The serials on the seal did not match either. When the crate was opened under watch, the tubing was there, neat and right. But tucked under it, wrapped in clear, was a set of vials with labels that looked perfect. To an untrained eye, they were normal. To a patient dragon and a suspicious nurse, they were a wrong note in a kind song. The team logged the vials and replaced them with genuine stock. They laid a plan that kept the room calm. Mercer did not want a scene inside the ward. He wanted proof that would hold. Miri let herself breathe. Then she looked at Ria, who slept, and at Obsidian, who did not. The dragon's sides rose and fell in a measured way, but Miri could tell from the angle of his head that he was listening to more than air. The ward's soft rhythm had a hidden beat. Obsidian heard it. Hour by hour, the surgery drew near. The ward's light shifted toward evening. Miri's hands moved through final prep. Vorn spoke to the team and approved standard steps. Mercer, behind a viewing panel with others, kept his voice even as he gave quiet instructions into a small mic. The stage was set. The glass was clean. The tools were bright. The patient was ready. And in the alcove, a dragon waited, still as a star and twice as watchful. The operating theater gleamed with care. Soft white panels kept shadows small. The air held a clean scent with a hint of herbs, a trick from Miri's old ship days to calm anxious minds. The team wore light suits that did not rustle. The machines spoke in small notes like gentle birds. Rhea lay under pale light. Her face was calm now, the sedative smoothing away pain lines. Miri stood at the edge of the field with one hand on the chart and one on her own steady breath. Captain Mercer looked through the viewing wall with two officers and a quiet tech who held a recorder made for courts. Obsidian stood beyond the glass, shoulders level, wings tight, tail still. His eyes followed every motion without haste. His scales were dark, yet fine colors flowed along the edges, faint ripples like northern lights behind fog. Dr. Vorn began with routine checks. He spoke calmly to the team. His language was precise and neat. He signaled for standard anesthesia and then, as if by habit, reached to a small side tray prepared earlier. His hand hovered over a clear vial whose label matched the routine booster. He lifted it with a motion that looked normal, ordinary, unremarkable. The glass did not break before the roar. Sound came first, a deep wave that touched the body before it touched the ear. Obsidian's chest note rose into a cry that made the air itself hold still. The viewing wall trembled. The reinforced braces creaked. Then Obsidian surged forward and struck the glass with controlled power. Once, twice. The third strike fractured the panel in spider threads. The fourth made it give way. The team froze. Tools paused mid-air. Nothing else moved except the dragon. He flowed through the gap and landed light. All focus, all care. He did not knock a single tray. He crossed to Vorn in 2 long steps and set his head low with his gaze hot and clear. He exhaled a thin thread of cold across the vial. The liquid inside reacted with a faint hiss and a quick frost bloom. The label, so tidy, lifted at one edge as if ashamed. Miri spoke first, her voice small but steady. "Dr. Vorn, please step back." Vorn stared at the vial, then at the dragon's eyes. He opened his mouth, but no words came. The team did not reach for the patient. They knew this moment asked for stillness. Captain Mercer entered with calm steps and hands open. "Doctor," he said in a quiet tone. "We place the vial on the tray and move away from the field." Vorn did not obey at once, and the dragon's head dipped a little closer. Then Vorn placed the vial down. His fingers shook for the first time that day. A containment box arrived. The tech slid it under the vial and sealed it. A small reader blinked with readings that made Mercer's jaw set. No one said the word danger. They did not need to. The figures told the story. The room, still quiet, filled with a different kind of sound, relief mixed with fear, like the end of a narrow bridge crossed in fog. Miri moved to Rhea's side and laid a soft hand near her shoulder. "We are with you," she whispered. "We will keep you safe." Vorn tried to speak. The words tripped. Then they settled into lines that were too smooth to be true. "A substitution error," he said. "Someone tampered with my tray." Mercer looked at the cameras in the corners, which had watched the prep and the reach and the vial lifted from a separate kit. He gave a small nod to the tech. Backups were already on their way to secure storage. "Dr. Calix Vorn," Mercer said, still even, "for the safety of the patient, you are relieved from this procedure. We will have questions later." 2 officers guided Vorn out with gentle hands. There was no shout, no hard grip, only firm procedure. It was enough. Obsidian stepped back from the field and took up a guard near the wall, his body a patient line of calm power. Miri looked at him and saw a steady glow where fear had been. A second team, pre-cleared and closely vetted, entered within minutes. Dr. Lena Fosk, human by birth and skilled across allied species, took the lead. She met the dragon's gaze for a long breath. Obsidian's scales brightened with a soft pulse like a small dawn. The approval was quiet but clear. The work began. Slow, careful, humane. The machines hummed. The team moved as one. Miri felt the old rhythm of good work settle into the room. Mercer stayed at the edge and spoke rarely. When he did, it was to clear a path, to smooth a step, to keep the air thin with fear and thick with focus. Outside the theater, the recorder spit facts to the secure line. The tray, the vial, the reactions, the timestamps. Other officers followed the path of credits to Tavian Crow. A file opened like a hidden door. In it, a map of shells and accounts, all pointing toward a simple idea dressed up in numbers. Sell false hope and hide the harm. Hours passed like slow water. When the last suture line closed and the monitors sang a better song, Miri let herself smile for the first time that day. Rhea lay stable and quiet. Obsidian's whole body relaxed at once, like a bow eased after a long hold. Mercer's voice, soft. Good work, everyone. He did not add more. The team did not need more. In a quiet room below the ward, Vorn sat before a clear screen that showed his reflection and his choices. Words came now, but they came out heavy. He spoke of debts and pressure. He spoke of Krell and the polished mask that hid a harsh trade. Names spilled like beads from a broken string. A supply clerk, a watch officer, a director who looked away. A network that had lived on small lies and long shadows. Above, the ward breathed like a living thing. Miri stood near Rhea and watched Obsidian rest his head on folded forearms, eyes still open. The dragon's glow was not pride. It was relief. It was love without show. The ward returned to normal sounds, but nothing was the same. Glass could be replaced. Trust would take longer. Still, the most important thing had been kept: a life, a bond, and a truth that would not stay buried. 2 days later, Rhea woke to a soft chirp and the gentle scrape of scales on floor plates. Obsidian was there, curled near the door like a blue-black promise. Miri smiled and kept her voice light. "Welcome back," she said. "You slept through a dramatic shift change." Rhea's laugh was rough but real. "If there was drama, I know who ran toward it," she whispered, looking at Obsidian. The dragon answered with a rolling purr that vibrated the bed rails. He eased closer, careful with every wire and line. Captain Mercer visited with plain words and quiet praise. He gave updates in simple terms. Vorn had confessed to paid influence and planned harm cloaked as medical need. Tavian Krell's paths were being cut one by one. Raids on storage bays had found cases of counterfeit therapy packs, all bright on the outside and hollow within. Those arrested would face fair courts with clean evidence. Changes began to move across Aurora Ring and beyond. New checks for medicine shipments. Companion review for sensitive procedures when a bonded pair was present. Training modules that taught young medics how to read the honest signs in a companion's body language. Miri helped write those parts. She chose soft words and clear diagrams. She wanted no one to feel foolish for listening to a feeling that did not yet have a name. When Rhea could sit up without help, a small ceremony took place in a sunlit hall where windows looked out on a gracious starfield. It was not grand. It did not need to be. A handful of people stood in a semicircle. Miri wore a fresh band with tiny silver leaves. Mercer wore the same calm face, but his eyes were bright. A council member read a short statement. Rhea and Obsidian were sworn in as the first members of the Companion Vigilance Unit. A new branch meant to pair human skill with natural senses that reached past device limits. Rhea spoke a few words, simple and true. I am here because of a promise, she said. I promise to follow the path of truth, even when it turns into shadow. I am also here because of a bond I did not earn, but try to deserve every day. We do this work together, or we do not do it at all. Obsidian lifted one wing and let it settle around Rhea's shoulders like a shawl. The room warmed with quiet joy. Weeks folded into a new routine. The station went back to its swirl of markets, music, and friendly noise. Traders haggled. Kids chased small drones in the plaza. The cafe on Deck 6 served sweet tea that calmed nerves. Rhea and Obsidian walked those paths like any other pair, yet people nodded with grateful eyes as they passed. The nods were not about fame, they were about relief. On a quiet evening, they sat at a small outdoor table near a planter full of green vines. Miri joined them with a paper cup and a content sigh. I am retired from night shifts, she said in mock seriousness, but I will still bring you the good tea. They shared easy silence. A young trainee stopped by with a baby dragon no longer than a forearm. The little one puffed a tiny ring of smoke and then looked proud of it. The Obsidian lowered his head and hummed a small blessing. The trainee smiled so wide it looked like morning. A chime on Rhea's band broke the calm in the best way. Captain Mercer's voice came through in a low channel. Mining Outpost Nova 7, he said. A set of incidents labeled accidents. The pattern looks wrong. We need a clear read on the ground. Can you travel tonight? Rhea looked at Obsidian. No words were needed. His scales brightened along the edges like a horizon-finding sun. Miri gave them a look that mixed fondness and mild worry. Bring back stories, she said, and drink water. They packed quickly. The transport lounge smelled faintly of engine oil and spices. A crew member waved them through a wide door built to handle unusual shapes. The cabin had an alcove where Obsidian could settle without folding his wings too tightly. Rhea buckled in and laid a hand against his shoulder. The ship hummed, then lifted, then poured itself into a bright tunnel of faster than light. They watched the stars with a steady calm that comes after a long storm. Rhea thought about the first day in the ward, the whisper for help that had traveled a long hallway and found a friend with golden eyes. She thought about rules that bent for kindness and then broke for truth. She thought about how a dragon had read the room when the best machines could not. Do you remember the old cargo loader you tried to warn away when I was a first year? Rhea asked with a smile. You placed yourself between me and a steel giant and would not move, even when my lunch fell on the floor. Obsidian gave a soft huff that meant he did in fact remember, and would do it again. The ship's lights dimmed to travel night. Rhea rested her head back and let the engine song lull her. She pictured Nova 7 as a place full of dust and honest workers. A place where someone had started to twist the line of safety toward harm. The thought did not make her hard. It made her patient. Truth, she had learned, lives in plain sight, but wears many coats. You do not tear the coats away. You invite truth to step forward in its own time while you keep the door open. When the transport dropped into orbit, the view showed a world of long shadows and bright ridges. The outpost lights flickered like a string of small hopes. Rhea and Obsidian rose together. He leaned into her shoulder for a heartbeat, and she leaned back. Then they walked down the ramp without hurry. They moved like a promise kept, not the noisy kind, the steady, gentle kind that holds through storms. In the welcome hall, a tired foreman with soft eyes tried to stand taller. Rhea offered a small smile that said, "We will listen first." Obsidian lowered his head in greeting, a quiet sign that said, "We will notice what others miss." The ending, if it could be called an ending, felt different and new. There was no parade. There was only the next open door and the shared step through it. This was their finest reward, the work itself done together. A human who believed in careful courage, a dragon who trusted his deep senses. Two lives